Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we've got a This Is Not a Top 10 ranked video. I haven't done one of these in a while because I've been so enjoying the live stream, the interaction with everybody, the back and forth, if you will. It's been a blast, and as you guys know, I did spend a little bit of money, bought myself a new camera and a new microphone and new lighting and new perfumes as usual. That's been going on for a while, but this is going to be a top 50 with a bunch of honorable mentions that I have no clue where to put them, either because they were just little samples that I got a chance to wear, or I wore them so long ago that they're not fresh in my memory, or, you know, something along those lines, or I have a bottle, but I just haven't worn it enough to know where I would put it in the list. So, excuse me. So this is going to be just a personal rank list and a couple things I should get out of the way. And I feel like even when I say this, I still get these questions in the comments below. So first of all, I go off of Parfumo, okay? Parfumo, you know, is a website you can go look up on your own. You can look up parfumo.net and kind of view some of these notes. So if there is a note of absinthe or vodka or rum or whiskey or, you know, liqueur or any of these alcohol notes, this is fair game for this video, okay? Now, so I know there's many of you that are going to say, I don't get alcohol in this, or how come you left that one out? I go off of Parfumo. That's just how I do it. I'm a fan of Parfumo. It's my favorite, you know, site to use. Even though not so many people use it yet, I feel like the infrastructure is there. You know what I mean? And all it needs is more people using it. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm a fan of Parfumo. I'm an advocate, but that's kind of where it stands. I'm not affiliated with them any other way other than I'm just a fan of their site. And so that's where these notes are coming from. So before we get into the top 50 and the honorable mentions, buckle up because this is going to be a long video. And let's do scent of the day. So my scent of the day is actually this little bad boy. And this is the first time I've worn this in probably 5 or 6 years, because when this came out in 2017, I got myself a official brand sample, and I wore it. I actually wore it to work. I remember the day I wore it to work, like it's snapshotted in my brain vividly, because I remember going, whoa, this is way too daring and challenging for me. But now, coming back to it 5 or 6 years later, my God, I think it's one of the most brilliant perfumes that Annick Minardo has ever created. It's challenging, okay? I think of it as like a modern day Koros, all right? In terms of how challenging it is and the animalic notes. And even though it doesn't necessarily smell like Koros, that's how my brain kind of perceives it. And this is Amouage Figment Man. So I don't know if there's been reformulations. If you can find the older bottles with the name on the side and on the collar instead of down here on the front, that's what you want, in my opinion. But Figment Man is just a you've got to have balls. You've got to have intestinal fortitude. If you don't have balls, you've got to have some sort of will to wear this. I mean, this will challenge you. It will definitely challenge the people around you. It's got this civet note that's there almost the entire length of the fragrance, and the fragrance starts off, you know, very peppery with geranium and civet, and the civet is very prominent. It's the first thing that'll hit your nose, and then it kind of dries down into this somewhat earthy, you know, resinous, slightly smoky dry down because of the Gaiac wood, but what a fragrance. I mean, for someone who likes complex fragrances, I have thoroughly enjoyed wearing this today. And we went out to a nice restaurant. I had a beef short rib with some carrots and celery and onions and potatoes and, you know, what else did we have? Asparagus and all that good stuff. And it was fantastic. It was a nice restaurant, and this did not feel out of place at all. So, I mean, just at least for me, no one said anything anyways, but yeah, so Figment Man is my scent of the day, and it is a beauty. All right, so let's get into this. Let's do the honorable mentions that I really didn't know where to place these, but they deserve to be a shout out because that's what these videos are about. They're about highlighting fragrances and the notes and, you know, talking about fragrances that maybe don't often get talked about in a different way. So The first one we're going to talk about is a fragrance that I actually have yet to talk about on the channel. Well, I've yet to talk about this brand. I've talked about them in lists like this, but I've yet to actually do videos and really break it down. You know, get to know the brand yet, but I will very soon. It's on the never-ending list of new, you know, samples I want to wear and talk about on the channel. And this is called, it's from the house of Maher Olfactive, and it's called Treachery. So Treachery is a fragrance that came out 2 or 3 years ago. It's a spicy gourmand. It's got pipe tobacco. It's got, that's the brand right there, Maher Olfactive. And so it's got spicy spices, pipe tobacco, vanilla, absolute, almond, cacao, whiskey, saffron, divana, and berries. And I don't know this fragrance. If I did spray it on, I don't remember it. So I'm just going to have to wait to kind of get to know this a little bit better. But the brand seems very interesting. The owner is a guy named Sean Maher, and he's the brand owner and the perfume maker. So it's going to be interesting to get to know these and see. They seem to be quality stuff. We'll just see if any of them are deemed full bottle. But the notes here sound like they're right up my alley. Although I normally don't like gourmand. If you're going to do a gourmand, tobacco and whiskey is right up my alley. I know some people don't like liqueur notes in their perfumes, and some people do. So one thing I've got to do real quick is I have to grab this sample set that I forgot to grab. So this is from the house of Parfums Cortana, and there's actually 3 fragrances that have a liqueur note in them, and I'm excited to get to know them because they're actually, if I can get this open, okay, so they're actually fragrances I have yet to smell. So I have them, but I haven't sprayed them on yet. And one is called, let's see if I can grab them here real quick. Nope, not that one. Okay, here we go. So, the first one is called Wolfsbane. And so Wolfsbane is the masculine, one of the masculines from this line. They've got some that are masculine, some that are feminine, and some that are unisex. And so Wolfsbane came out in 2016. It's angelica root, fig leaf, cumin, ginger, absinthe, patchouli, cedarwood, tuberose, tobacco flower, castoreum, benzoin, sandalwood, prunal, vetiver, white fawn lily, and black truffle. Hell of a note listing. And this was actually sent to me by Mr. Cortana, so I'm excited to kind of dive into these and start doing videos. But the fact that he sent this to me obviously doesn't change any of my opinions. All of the opinions are my own. So I'm kind of really, actually Wolfsbane might be the one I am most excited about. And then we've got one that's called, it's like the one that I need is, here it is, the last one I look at, of course. It's called Midnight Datura, and Midnight Datura is a 2016 release as well. This is the one that's marketed towards, one of the ones that's marketed as a feminine targeted fragrance, but the note listing seems perfectly unisex. Green leaves, mandarin orange, bergamot, divana, rum, jasmine, tuberose, magnolia, lily of the valley, rose, violet, lavender, heliotrope, datura, clove, nutmeg, pepper, balsam, patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood, cedarwood, amber, and musk. Hell of a note listing on these. And that datura note is a note that I actually have never seen before. So I'll be very excited to get to know that one. And finally, the last one with this liqueur note that I'm excited to get to know is a perfume called Venetian Belladonna. Venetian Belladonna. And it is a 2016 release. This is also marketed towards women, and it's blackcurrant, violet water, plum, sultanine, which I've never heard of. I think it's some sort of copyrighted aroma chemical that's owned by, you know, one of the big houses, IFF, Givaudan, Simrai. Oh, it's Simrai. Sorry, it's Simrai. Sultanine is a Simrai's ingredient. Cognac, styrax, ambrette seed, jasmine sambac, honey, iris, tuberose, patchouli, labdanum, suede, saffron, beeswax, sandalwood, and vetiver. So, looks pretty good. I mean, I do love honey, so that's always a good sign when I see a honey note. And then, there's a couple zoologists we're going to talk about today. I just knocked them all over. So one of the zoologists we're going to talk about is one that I actually know nothing about. It's a brand new one for me anyways. It's a 2022 release. I think it's the release that came out before they put out Cardinal. And this is called Cockatiel. And Cockatiel is a Sven Pritzkolite. Excuse me. Sorry, Sven. My Texas tongue, you know, it gets away from me sometimes. But Cockatiel is a fruity, powdery scent, and the liqueur note in this one is champagne. And I actually have a couple fragrances here with that champagne note we're going to talk about in the top 50. But Cockatiel is champagne, raspberry, rhubarb, mimosa, powdery notes, cashmeran, gaiac wood, patchouli, vanilla, and musk. And I'm always excited to try any of Victor Wong's creations. I think it's an amazing brand that he's kind of created, and so I'm always excited to get to try the zoologist scents, and I have the entire line to do videos on, so that's very exciting. Okay, next we have a Dior. And the reason that this is in the honorable mentions and not in the top 50 is because I just don't know it well enough yet. I got myself one of these little, how big are you? I think you are a 7.5 mil mini. And this is called Dior's Spice Blend. So interestingly enough, this has 2 alcohol notes. One is Rum Absolute, and the other is called Bay Rum. And bay rum apparently is a note that was gained from the West Indian bay tree, and it's this spicy scent that what they do is they use this clove, allspice, like spice accord, and they mix it with this West Indian rum to create this traditional aftershave bay. It was actually called bay rum, if memory serves. And so it's like a traditional aftershave from long, long ago. And so this spice blend is bay rum, rum absolute, and spices. So I'm excited to get to know this better. I just don't know it well enough to put it in the ranking. Excuse me. And then we've got an Intio fragrance, and I didn't buy this. This was actually sent to me by a friend. Well, not the whole bottle, just a sample, enough for me to wear and talk about on the channel. A couple mils, 2 or 3 mils here. And this is called Side Effect. And Side Effect came out in 2016. It is a cinnamon, tobacco, saffron, sandalwood, rum, vanilla, and hedione scent. And it's sweet, spicy. I totally see why Side Effect is as popular as it is, because it's so sweet. And it has that, you know, that modern, even though once you smell lots of fragrances, to me, Intio fragrances always smell cheap. It smells cheap to me, but I see why my brain can completely visualize why so many people love that perfume. But I'll do a review on it very soon. And then there's actually one here that I was hoping to talk about with you guys. If I can find it, let's see. Actually, I should have been prepared. I don't think I have that here. I don't know where it is. I'm gonna have to do some digging for that one. Unless it's up here. Let's see. Nope. I don't know where it's at. Too many samples. Oh, here it is. apologies. Apologies, but if we're going to do the video, I feel like we should do it right, damn it. So, this is a sample. I actually have 3 or 4 of these that I'm kind of excited to talk about with you guys on the channel. And it's called... So, the people who are big into perfume, they may not care about this, but I think people who are kind of just getting started, this may be one that they're really excited to hear about. So, this is a Bvlgari, and it's called Man in Black. And I've got 3 or 4 of these little, I don't know what these are, 1.5 or... but it's a spicy, woody fragrance that came out in 2014. It's tobacco, rum, tuberose, orris absolute, leather, benzoin, tonka bean, and gaiac wood. So yes, I have a lot of samples to talk about on the channel, as you can see. Next is a Roja Dove, and it came out in 2020. And I've got this little, again, sample. I don't have a bottle of this. It's a citrusy, fresh fragrance, and you wouldn't think booze notes would go well in a citrusy, fresh fragrance, but this one I have actually smelled. I don't know it well enough, but I have sprayed it and smelled it, and it gets compared to a Givenchy fragrance I actually already own called 21 Conduit Street. That was very kindly sent to me by one of you. One of the few fragrances in this collection I didn't pay for with my own money. Most of them, 99% of them I did. And so this is grapefruit, lime, mandarin orange, bitter orange, mint, ginger, cinnamon, cumin, saffron, patchouli, oak moss, rum, tobacco, cedarwood, cashmere wood, benzoin, vanilla, labdanum, ambergris, and musk. So Burlington, 1819, Eau de Parfum. More than enough. Probably a mil and a half left in here to, you know, wear and get to know some more and finally do a video on it before that decant is drained. And then we've got, after the Roja Burlington, we have another Roja. And again, one that I just don't know well enough. I've sprayed it. I kind of understand, I think, what it's going for. But I don't know it well enough to rank it, and this is called Roja's Apex, and this gets a lot of hate in the community, and I understand why. You know, I completely understand why. The marketing, the bottle, the vintage vibe, although it really doesn't smell vintage to me, it smells like a modern niche trying to be vintage, and I completely see why people like me who truly love vintage fragrances hate this stuff. But I'm kind of, I don't hate it. Let's put it that way. You know, I'm not going to go with the crowd and say I absolutely hate this. I think it's an okay fragrance, but I don't think I'd buy a bottle or anything, but I'll be very fair in my review when I ultimately review that. And then, there is a brand that I need to get to know more because my first impression with the brand was very negative. Excuse me. And it was called Astrophil and Stella. And the brand is called, well, the brand is called Astrophil and Stella. The fragrance is called Into the Oud. And Into the Oud is actually a Bertrand Duchaufour creation. It's orange pepper rum, Divana saffron, toffee, amber, oak moss, and oud. And the comparison here is Initio's Oud for Greatness, which I absolutely despise. I hate Oud for Greatness. It's one of my most hated fragrances. I hate that smell. So the fact that this is compared to this really makes me think that, especially since this was in 2020 this was done, it really makes me think that that's what Astrophil and Stella wanted Bertrand Duchaufour to do. They wanted him to do a you know, Oud for Greatness like fragrance, because I know he wouldn't do that on his own. So really not digging the brand, not digging it at all, but I'm excited to try it because I love Bertrand Duchaufour's work. And then there's another brand that I'm really excited to get to know further, because the very first impression and what I've smelled is so positive. And there's so many, there's so few times that you can smell something like this from a house like this and just understand that the person doing it has complete freedom. You know, it's almost like a passion of his. He sticks to his guns. He's got the intestinal fortitude. He puts out daring stuff. The ingredients smell high quality. All of this stuff. And he's not a professionally trained perfumer. He's just some guy that loves kind of doing this and has his own brand. I think it's awesome. The name of the brand is called Pine Ward. And the perfumer and brand owner is called, his name is Nicholas Nilsson. And this one is called Apple Tabak. And Apple Tabak came out in 2020. It's fruity, spicy with red apple, tobacco, fir balsam, rum, and dried fruits. And even smelling this from the atomizer, without even spraying it, it smells amazing. So I'm very excited to get to know more from this house. And then we've got a, so we actually have a fragrance that I actually have a review on. So if you go to my channel and you go to the playlist under Tiziana Terenzi, you'll find this review. And this one's called Ursa. Now, Ursa is a take on a fragrance that came out a long time before this. You know, that the original fragrance is called Straight to Heaven. And I don't own that one, but I own a version that came out about a decade later called Straight to Heaven Extreme, and that is on this list. So this is Tiziana Terenzi Ursa. So you can go check out my review, my thoughts on this. It's resinous, it's woody, it's nutmeg, elemi, rum, dried fruits, patchouli, frankincense resin, tobacco, vetiver, vanilla, leather, oud, and Indonesian oud. And so very intense wearing experience, as most Tiziana Terenzis are, but I just get so much amber woods and, you know, those modern chemicals that just make it shout and scream, and that is definitely a screamer. That's a beast mode fragrance for sure. And then another fragrance that I actually have a early impression video on. You can go check this out. I like this even better than Ursa. If I had to buy one, I would probably buy this one. It's very, very good. Although it is expensive stuff, it's not cheap. And I just have a hard time placing this because, again, I only wore it once, and it was a while back. But it reminds me in smell of smelling something that's even more expensive than this, something like Spirit of Dubai, some of their fragrances. But this is from the brand Nishane, and this is called Nefs. And thank you to the perfume god people that sent these to me. It's very, very kind. And so Nefs is this spicy, sweet honey, violet, sage, saffron, and fig with rose, osmanthus, geranium, jasmine, and nutmeg, amber, whiskey, oud, cinnamon, cedarwood, guardium balsam, leather, and vanilla. Smells like a Spirit of Dubai, or maybe like one of those Rojas in the Middle Eastern line, you know, something like that. Very good, though. Very, very good. Even though it's a take on Middle Eastern perfumery, very intense as well, I prefer it to Tiziana Terenzi. And finally, a full bottle. We'll end on a full bottle, and then we'll start the top 50. And the reason that we're going to end on a full bottle is because I honestly have no clue where to put this. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I own the fragrance, and even though I own it, I still don't really know it because I never wear it because it's so outside of what I what I love to wear nowadays, let's say. And so the honorable mention, if you will, that's just outside of the top 50 is going to be Halloween Man X. So this got a lot of hype a couple years ago in the Fragcom. It is a 2019 release, and Halloween Man X is basically this sweet gourmand, right? So what drew me to this was the coffee note, because I was really digging fragrances with coffee at the time, and you know, it was a fragrance that you know, got a lot of hype. Like I said, they were on all the lists. It was just one of those things. And so in a time of weakness, I bought it. And, you know, it's not the worst fragrance in the world, especially for what it costs. It's cardamom, provincial lavender, lemon, whiskey, roasted coffee, leather, cinnamon, mineral notes, tonka, amber, and frankincense. It's just, you know, it's probably similar to Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo or something like that. Even in the realm, it's like Uomo and Versace Eros kind of had a baby with a little bit of coffee and whiskey thrown in. And you know, it's not that I can't wear that. It's just, it's not something that I want to reach for now that I'm at this point in my journey, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me switch gears and let's get started to the top 50 here. So, number 50. Number 50. I hope you guys are sitting down. Number 50 is going to be an Azzaro. And it's actually a flanker of a vintage fragrance. And what you're going to notice is many times whenever you see these modern day flankers of vintage perfumes, a lot of times they'll throw in like this liqueur note to make it feel more modern. That's a big trend lately in the perfume world. So number 50 begins with that. And this is one that could easily climb this list, okay? It could easily climb this list. This could be much higher on the list. But the reason it's here is because whenever I wear this, I always think to myself, why don't I just wear the original, you know? So that's why it's here. And it is Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. And this is a very good fragrance, okay? So I don't want you to think, oh, 50 means it's bad. It's not. It doesn't mean it's bad at all. It's just that every time I wear this, I just think to myself, why? Why haven't I just worn the original? You know, what's the point? And it is a little bit more modern, but I don't care about that. You know, I love my vintage fragrances. And so the reason it's here is it just doesn't have a space in my collection to where I want to reach for it, because I'd rather just reach for the OG, Azzaro Pour Homme from 1978. That's the kind of stuff I love to wear. And so this just kind of gets pushed to the side, if you will. Yes, it's good. These flankers are totally hit or miss. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes you'll get them and just go, what the hell is this crap? You know, this is one of the really good ones. And sometimes you feel like you smell that OG Azzaro Pour Homme peeking through, but it just never satisfies. You know, it just makes me want to go home and spray the original Azzaro Pour Homme. So that is number 50, Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. Number 49 is a Luban fragrance, the first of a couple Lubans, and the other one from this house is much higher on the list. And this one I really don't like. I struggle with this one, actually. And it's a fragrance that I don't understand when I wear it. It feels like it is a little bit light, and whenever you have a leather and an oud and a whiskey, you know, you're thinking, okay, and a cognac. There's actually two liqueur notes in this fragrance. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be a heavy wear, right? It's not. It actually wears very light. And if you wanted to wear a spicy, leathery, liqueur-like gourmand in the warmer weather, this could be one that you could get away with. It's called Corrigan by the house of Luban Paris. And came out about 11 years ago in 2012. It's cognac, saffron, juniper, ambrette, lavender, whiskey, leather, musk, oud, vetiver, and cedar. And I'll tell you what, whenever you read that note listing, you're probably thinking like I am, man, this is right up my alley. And but for some reason, reality doesn't meet expectations with this one. It's not that it's a bad fragrance, it's just there's no way I would ever buy a bottle of that. Okay, number 48. Number 48, we're going to go to a Discovery Atomizer set that I have right here from Zoologist, a name that you heard previously with Cockatiel, and you're going to hear it again, actually, as we go on. But number 48 is going to be a fragrance that I actually wore as my scent of the day probably a month or two ago. And I enjoyed it, but the reason it's here is there is a liqueur note, but it's not the centralized theme. There is a lot more going on here, and this is called Hyrax. So this is a 10 ml Discovery Atomizer of Hyrax, and Hyrax is a 2018 release. It was done by Sven Pritzkoliat, just like Cockatiel, and it's elemi, pink pepper, saffron, Turkish rose, hyraceum, hyacinth, styrax, whiskey, amber, castoreum, civet, benzoin, patchouli, sandalwood, and tonka. And those animalic resinous notes really take the lead, you know, and this is another one where I look at the note listing and I'm like, man, this is going to be a pure love for me. You know, I love hyraceum, castoreum, civet. I love animalic notes and fragrances. And yet, I like it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I don't think I would buy a full bottle. I think this 10 ml would suffice for me. But it does have that whiskey note, so it does make the cut at number 48. Number 47 is a Parfum's Cortana fragrance I actually have a video on. Go check it out. And it's called Hemlock. So Hemlock is one of the original 2016 release. Yeah, 2016 is when the whole line basically came out, and then last year they put out a new one, which I'll do a video on very soon. But Hemlock, and this is a good fragrance. It's rum, pink pepper, Calabrian bergamot, leaves, white blossom, cinnamon clove, jasmine sambac, styrax, vinyl, black magnolia, cyclamen, salt, benzoin, vanilla, suede, sandalwood, patchouli, tonka, musk, and amber woods. And go watch my early impression video. It's kind of like this resinous floral, and you get the hints of rum, you get the vinyl, which are very interesting notes to me. So this is a good fragrance, and I love these old, you know, cards. Look at that. Look at the detail on those. Very cool. Very, very cool. Good stuff. Hemlock comes in at number 47. Number 46 is actually a Killian's, and what's funny is if other people do this list, this could compete for number 1, I bet you, for most people. For me, it's 46. It's way down on the list. You're going to see the types of boozy fragrances that I love, and they're not this. This is way, way too sweet for me. There is a Killian on the list that's a little bit higher that I appreciate more than this, but don't ask me why I own this. You know, if I ever sold some bottles, this would be this would be one where I would really think long and hard about selling. It's called Angel's Share by Killian. And Angel's Share is this sweet gourmand. It's got cognac, oakwood absolute, cinnamon, tonka bean absolute, sandalwood, praline, vanilla, and hazelnut. And so you kind of get the idea. It's very, very, very sweet, though. One of the sweetest fragrances in my collection, which in the cold probably smells nice for the one day a year that it's going to be like 0 degrees here in Texas. But most of the times, like, I can't wear this. You know, I really struggle to find a time to wear something like this. The vanilla is so overdone. That praline note is just sickeningly sweet. I don't think this is what a man should smell like. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Even though it's unisex, I struggle to wear that. But I do like those kind of cinnamon, you know, cognac, whiskey, those type of fragrances I do like. So I just kind of took a chance on that blind. And that was a loser, a blind buy loser for me. But I'll do a review on it one day, hopefully. So that's Killian's Angel Share. Another one which I really thought I would love a lot more than I did. I like this, but I don't really love it. Again, there's another one from the brand that I like a little bit more, and this is from the house called Sense of Wood. It's a newer house, and one of these new niche houses that's popped up. That they just seem to be popping up everywhere lately. And this one's called Plum and Cognac. And so I have to give a shout out to Rachel for sending me this bottle. Very, very kind of her. One of the few bottles in my collection I did not buy with my own money. It's spicy, it's sweet, it's plum, rum absolute, cinnamon, Peru balsam, osmanthus, immortelle absolute, Haitian vetiver, vanilla, and cistus labdanum. And this is good. I enjoy this. I wore this, I think on Thanksgiving maybe or something like that last year, and it worked very well. But the thing about this brand is I've noticed that many of the creations smell the same. And I don't mean like with a DNA of the brand. I mean, it smells like you're smelling the same aroma chemical over and over and over, like the same molecules over and over and over. And so you could say that's a downside, and this is very good. I mean, I'm not saying that this is bad. It's just, you know, it does the same type of thing that, let's say, a Tobacco Vanille does. A little different style in doing it, but I don't feel like it's as revolutionary as some people made it seem. You know, in Fragcom, if you go back to 2020 when this came out, there were some folks that were like, this is going to be, you know, the greatest fragrance of all time, and, you know, all this stuff. We've never seen a release like this, and it's not really that. You know, the plum in cognac idea is a good one, but there are better ones from this house, I think. So yes, plum in cognac comes in at number 45. Number 44 is a little bit of a shocker, and you guys might not even realize that there's a booze note in here, but I really do love this stuff. And this one is called Nishane's Sultan Vetiver. Now, Sultan Vetiver is probably one of the most daring vetiver scents I've ever smelled, because it has like 4 different types of vetiver. Java vetiver, bourbon vetiver, Haitian vetiver, Brazilian vetiver. I mean, it is king vetiver. And the dry down is leather and amber woods. And so those amber woods tend to put people off sometimes, I think. But the ring actually came off. I've never even used this bottle because I have a decant and the ring already came off. Unbelievable. Not very good quality Nishane. Okay, so, but I love the fragrance. I absolutely love it. And vetiver is a scent, is an ingredient that when I first got into fragrances, like really got into fragrances, I thought I didn't like it. Or I thought I liked it, but I didn't love it. I didn't understand when people were like, man, I'm a vetiver lover, and I love vetiver, and now I do. Now I understand. It's taken me a long time. I think it's a mature note. I think you have to have a mature nose. It's not a smell that you would, when you first start your journey, many people won't go, oh God, I love vetiver. No, it's something you have to grow into. This has basically taken me a decade to love and appreciate vetiver. But this has an absinthe note in the top. And, you know, absinthe is a boozy note that's going to show up again and again in this video. It's this alcoholic drink that's made from wormwood, aniseed, fennel, and a number of herbs, according to the different recipe of how to make absinthe, and alcohol, of course. And most absinthes have this green color, and that's kind of where the drink got that the Green Fairy nickname. And so there's a lot of stories about absinthe that you can read. I've actually tried it before. Worst hangover of my life. Don't ever drink that stuff. But I will tell you that it has a very distinct smell. And you can smell the absinthe at the top of Sultan Vetiver. And even though I'm glad I'm not afflicted with the disease of hating amber woods, because yes, the base is definitely an amber wood. You definitely get the amber woods in the base, but what a beautiful vetiver fragrance this is. I love how daring it is, and so that's why it comes in at number 44. Number 43 is a designer boozy fragrance, and probably, you know, if you just surveyed a couple people who are fans of boozy fragrances and who just buy designer fragrances, this will probably be very close to the top of their list. And this is a very good fragrance, but it has big time longevity issues. Although when you have a big collection, spray away. You know, you can't take your fragrances with you, enjoy them. And that's kind of what I do here. I just reapply every 3 or 4 hours. And this is from John Varvatos, and it's called Dark Rebel. Now, I prefer its younger brother, excuse me. I prefer its younger brother, Dark Rebel Rider. That goes more into the leather, which you guys know I love leather. This is actually Divana, Jamaican rum, cardamom absolute, Cuban sugarcane, clary sage, snapdragon, nutmeg, black pepper, black leather, styrax absolute, fir balsam, akigala wood. Before Quinton Biche made akigala wood so popular, you know, it was used here in 2015 even by Rodrigo Flores Rue of Givaudan, balsa wood, castoreum, Mexican vanilla, tobacco leaf, and Canary Islands juniper. Now, I've often been of the mind that longevity and projection issues have to do with the ingredients not being of the highest quality because, you know, when Amouage was still Amouage, right? And they used the highest quality materials, their fragrances lasted forever. I mean, I get 10, 12 hours from Amouage fragrances regularly, sometimes more, sometimes 15, 16, 18 hours. And this Figment, man, you'll be able to smell the dry down all day on your hand, as an example. And so when a fragrance only lasts 3 or 4 hours, I really think that the ingredients are of a lower quality. You know, that's what pops in my head. Whether it's true or not, that's what pops into my head. And I just can't help but think that Rodrigo Flores Rue making these fragrances for Jean Varvatos is almost like, you know, a 5-star classically trained chef making food at, you know, your local cafeteria. No matter how good he is, if the ingredients aren't there, it's not going to turn out very well, right? And he did the best that he could here. He made some amazing fragrances, but you do have to reapply. I would love to see what Rodrigo Flores Rue could do for, you know, a big niche house. Like, could you imagine if Rodrigo Flores Rue made a Frederick Malle? I think that would be amazing. And so yes, that's just kind of my take. Right or wrong, that's just my take. Next, we're going to go back to the house of Zoologist, and we're going to go to a fragrance which I actually have a review on. And I've done an early impression on this, and actually, this is going to play a part in another video coming up very soon. It's going to be a comparison video. It's going to be a comparison between Rhinoceros, and this is a 2020 version, and the 2014 version that originally came out. This is version 2.0. They were forced to change it. And so Lom Ross is the perfumer of Rhinoceros 2.0. And this is pink pepper, whiskey, coffee, rum, basil, leather, frankincense, tobacco absolute, sweet vernal grass, ylang ylang, Laotian oud, patchouli, Nagamatha, oak moss, and amber. And go check out my review on this. I liked it, but I just thought it was lacking something, you know? And I'm curious what the original from 2014 is like. But it's good enough to make number 42. Number 41 is a fragrance that actually does not have a liqueur note listed, but I get this booziness, and I get enough that I'm confident enough that I can put it in here as a boozy fragrance. It's a designer, and it's from the house of Dior, and this is called Fahrenheit Parfum. So this is the Parfum version of the great Fahrenheit from 1988. So the Parfum version came out in 2014. And it is this slightly sweeter. There's vanilla added, which I've always thought there was no place in Fahrenheit for vanilla. And so they added vanilla. They toned down that gasoline-like opening, which I love so much. And they just made it more likable, more wearable, you know, which I don't know if I care about that because I wear fragrances for me. I like my fragrances to be daring. And so this is the spicy, sweet, more likable Fahrenheit, if you will, more unisex Fahrenheit. Even though this is marketed towards men, I think this is the unisex Fahrenheit, if you will. And it's Sicilian mandarin orange, pink pepper, lemon, lavender, violet leaf, leather, bourbon, vanilla, absolute, amber, benzoin, gaiac wood, birch tar, cedar wood, patchouli, and vetiver. And there is this general boozy vibe to the perfume, okay? So there's this general boozy vibe. I got this old tester right here. Hey, you can kind of see my face through the bottle. Ooh, creepy. So Fahrenheit Parfum. Definitely you get this boozy vanilla for Fahrenheit. It's good. I like it, but it just, I mean, I have a little bit of the same problem with that. Not as much, but a little bit of the same problem with that as I do with the Azzaro Honourable Mentions. Like, why am I wearing this? Why don't I just wear the original kind of thing? Okay, next on the list, we actually have a number 40. And number 40 is a Prin Lom Ross creation. And it's called Cigar Rum. It's the only full bottle of Strangers or Prin Lom Ross's brand that I own. And this is good. I like it. I don't love it, but I do like it. There's a fragrance that is in this DNA that I actually like even more than this, believe it or not. This is raisins, prune, dried cherry, rum, mandarin orange, amber, tobacco, oak wood, vetiver, resins, labdanum absolute, and kelp. Yes, kelp. And the picture here is, imagine you're kind of sitting on a beach, tropical island, but maybe the weather is a little cool. It's in the 60s or 70s, but you're on the beach and you're vowing to have a good time. You know, you're drinking your rum, pina colada, rum drink, whatever it may be, and you know, the tide is coming in, or sorry, the tide is leaving, and it kind of leaves behind this kelp residue from the ocean on the beach. And as you're walking the beach at night, you know, in your short sleeve shirt, even though you're kind of cold, you wish you had a jacket, but you're not going to do it because you're on a vacation. You know, you pick up some of that. You get that tobacco. You're maybe smoking a cigar. It's that vibe, cigar rum. It's good. I like it. I don't think I would buy another bottle once this is gone or anything like that, but it is good. Number 40 is cigar rum. Number 39 is actually my favorite from the brand of Scents of Wood. And I do have some samples that Rachel sent me, so there'll be some more first impressions from this brand and stuff like that. But this is the best one I've come across so far. And number 39, it's called Oud in Bourbon. And so this is a nice little gift set that one of my perfume god people sent to me. So it comes with the candle and a Discovery atomizer. And it is a beautiful smell, actually. I think this should have been hyped much more than Plum and Cognac, to be honest with you. So, Oud in Bourbon. And Oud in Bourbon is coffee, Divana, saffron, cacao absolute, labdanum, frangipani, oud, vanilla, and patchouli. And it does have that bourbon, you know, it does have that bourbon-like vibe, if you will. It's a very good perfume. And it came out in 2021. Pascal Gorin is the perfumer. I'm sure I butchered that, but my traitorous Texas tongue will never oblige. But yes, Oud in Bourbon. Thanks again to my perfume god person that sent this my way. Okay, next on the list, we've got number 38. And I can put this here because I just did an early impression video on it. I mean, within the last week. This just came out, too, in 2023. And we're still in the first month of 2023. So it literally just came out. And this is called Harvest Mouse by Zoologist. And go watch my review of this. This is a good fragrance. It was done by Luca Maffei. And Harvest Mouse is it's a very unique fragrance on this list because it's the only one that has the note of beer. So beer is actually the liqueur note from Harvest Mouse. Never had a fragrance that had a beer note before. The note listing is bergamot, cloves, Roman chamomile, orange blossom, Divana, apopanax, hay absolute, rose absolute, beer extract CO2, benzoin, fir balsam, cedarwood, oak moss, sandalwood, peru balsam, and vanilla. Very interesting fragrance. I enjoyed it. I don't think I would buy a bottle because of all of those notes. It gave me this oud feel. Like, it gave me Versace Pour Homme Oud Noir or MFK's Oud. I have no clue why. All of those notes just combined to give me this oud-like perfume. But you could get this weedy, beery thing in the background, malty. Go watch my review. It's a very interesting fragrance, and that's why it's as high as it is, even though I only have a sample. All right, number 37 is the best mojito fragrance you will ever smell. Ever, hands down. I don't think anything can beat this. This is Guerlain's Homme. Now, this is what they call today as the Eau de Parfum, but back then they called it the Eau de Parfum Intense. So they don't make this bottle anymore, but same thing, just Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum, and you'll find this fragrance. It's at number 37, and it is, like I said, mojito in a bottle. It's fresh, it's woody, it's lime, it's peppermint, it's rum. That mojito feel makes it very invigorating in the heat. There's floral touches in the mid with patchouli, cedar, and vetiver in the base. And this is basically a vetiver fragrance, okay? Vetiver is the backbone of Guerlain Homme, but it's very, very good. It's a modern take on vetiver. It came out in 2009. It was actually the first fragrance that Thierry Vasser put out, the first masculine line Thierry Vasser put out after he took over for Jean-Paul Guerlain. Okay, next is number 36. And speaking of houses that go with the trend and release a flanker of a vintage fragrance that has a boozy note in it, this is Pacha de Cartier Parfum, the pure Parfum that came out in 2019. So the original Pacha came out in the early 90s, and I believe it was a Jacques Cavalier creation. This is a Mathilde Laurent. She's the in-house perfumer of Cartier. It's sweet, it's spicy, it's ambery, sandalwood, patchouli, balsamic notes. And I don't know what the liqueur is, but there is this liqueur-like note. But it's a very good designer. Like, if you want to wear a very likable designer fragrance, Pacha de Cartier Parfum is very good. Cartier does not make bad fragrances, in my opinion. Okay, so here's a real sleeper. No one talks about this, and the liqueur note here is champagne. Interestingly enough, and it's a masculine. Most fragrances I've seen that have the note of champagne are feminine targeted fragrances, or at least unisex. This is a masculine targeted fragrance, and it's number 35 on the list. It's a Oscar de la Renta fragrance, and it's called Gentleman. So this is a badass fragrance, I'll tell you that. It's fresh, it's spicy, it's got bergamot, grapefruit, cardamom, champagne, geranium, rosemary, black tea, amber, Haitian vetiver, labdanum, and some sort of woody notes that kind of smells like maybe Gaiac wood or, amber woods or, something like that. But the spices in here, I got this right around the time that I got Boundless in 2020 by Amouage, and that cardamom spiciness in here actually rivals the spiciness in Boundless, which is one of my favorite parts of Boundless, is that spicy opening. I don't like that amberwood part of Boundless, but this is such an underrated fragrance. I mean, I'm so glad I got this. I'm not sure where my juice level's at, but I think it's probably here, give or take. I probably have, I don't know, something like, I would guess something like 70 mils, 60, 70 mils left. So I'm very happy to have this. Let's put it that way. Oscar de la Renta Gentleman. And this bottle right here is an homage to Mr. de la Renta's favorite pastime, dominoes. And some people look at this and say it's a tacky bottle. I think this is a fantastic bottle. I found a bottle from the 1920s that resembles this a little bit. But I think this is a very underrated fragrance. It deserves more love in Fragcom. Okay, next on the list, we've got number 34. And this is Mona d'Oreo. And it is a Mona d'Oreo fragrance. And it's maybe not the one that you think. It's actually called Mona d'Oreo's Queer. So this is the modern bottle. And as soon as I smelled this, I had images in my head that this had been reformulated. Without even smelling the vintage, I just had this feeling because I was listening to the way people were talking about this fragrance versus what I was getting and the two weren't meshing, you know? Like Mark from the Robes 08 channel talks about how amazing this fragrance is, mind-blowing, the best leather. And I'm smelling it going, there's no way. This had to have been reformulated. And then reading people talk about it, they're saying, yes, the new bottles have been reformulated. The old bottles have this almost like champagne cork twist thing on the top of the cap, and they're square, not rounded, not oblong like this. I would love to find a vintage bottle of this. If anyone has a vintage bottle of Mona d'Oreo Queer, hit me up. This is leathery, smoky. It's castoreum, cardamom, leather, apopanax, cade, juniper, and the liqueur note is again absinthe. So remember, absinthe adds that wormwood, anise, fennel, herb-like smell, alcoholic herbs. Very interesting. So that is Mona d'Oreo's Queer at number 34. Number 33 is a Givenchy, in a very underrated Givenchy at that, extremely underrated. Maybe one of the most underrated Givenchy fragrances. And it was done by the master Dominique Ropion back in 1984. And this is called Isatis de Givenchy. Now, this is a vintage, back when, you know, you had the short ingredient list, if you will. Contains alcohol, parfum, and colorants. And that's it, bitches. So Isatis, though, is an amazing floral chypre, and I don't say that lightly. This is an amazing, look at the bottle. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like a gem, like cut. The cap is like cut like a precious gem, precious diamond. And the juice inside is just, I mean, operatic. This is a so multifaceted. If you are someone who kind of looks at our vintage obsession with kind of a raised eyebrow and a curious, like, what's wrong with these crazy people who love vintages so much, just do me a favor. Go get yourself a modern bottle of this. Go get yourself a vintage bottle of this, and then just do a side-by-side comparison. No other words will have to ever be said, ever. You will instantly be converted, okay? This is aldehydes, bergamot, Brazilian rosewood, galbanum, coconut, real coconut, not like a mistake. It was supposed to be castoreum. There is castoreum in here, but there's also coconut. Mandarin orange, neroli, orange blossom, citrus notes, honey, Florentine iris, jasmine, narcissus, Egyptian rose, tuberose, ylang ylang, amber, oak moss, clove, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, vetiver, civet, castoreum, precious woods, and bay rum. So there's bay rum. That's the liqueur note, if you will. Remember we talked about bay rum earlier. But the notes in here, I mean, Dominique Ropion writes music. I don't know if you guys know that, but he's also a composer in his spare time. He loves music. This is operatic. I mean, this is, the notes come at you in such brilliance. I mean, it's almost like you're in the, company of brilliance listening to this. Like you're sitting up in the penthouse listening to Mozart, you know, something like that. It's amazing. All right, so that's Isatis. And then number 32 is a perfume from the house of Valentino. And this is actually a discontinued fragrance, unfortunately. I don't think we've talked about too many discontinued fragrances yet, but we are about to. So this is called Vendetta pour Homme. And special shout out to Justin who sent this to me. Thank you, my friend. I really enjoyed wearing this when I wore it a month or two ago. It is lavender, neroli, vervain, clove, bay rum. Again, this is a bay rum liqueur fragrance. Geranium, jasmine, patchouli, oak moss, and labdanum. And many people compare this to Halston Z14, and they're not necessarily wrong. This does feel like a more modern take on Halston Z14. But it is very classy, very posh, never screams. You know, it wears very elegantly on your hand, and I love these type of fragrances. I mean, even though I also love the really challenging scents, as you can see, this has a place for sure because it's so elegant, so classy. You know, this is a perfect work fragrance, I think. But I really love Vendetta Pour Homme. Would I buy another bottle when it's gone? No, I don't think so. But I'm very glad to have it. And thank you, Justin, for sending that to me. Very, very kind. Okay, next on the list, we have a... what did I do with it? Ah, here it is. Next on the list, and this was actually sent to me by the great Al Manzano, so thank you, my friend. This is a fragrance by an indie house. You know, you could put them up there with Arise Ladore, Bortnikov, stuff like that. They're an indie house. The name of the house is Anna Zwarinkina. And Anna Zwarinkina created this little gem, and it's called Cuir de Russie. Okay, so Cuir de Russie this is an amazing creation. It's not my favorite Cuir de Russie, though. That reservation is reserved for vintage Chanel Cuir de Russie. But this is nonetheless quite the fragrance. It's very oily, very tar-like. Lots of sticky resins in here, right? There's like labdanum and tar and galbanum, which is also a resin, a sticky green resin. And the alcohol note is absinthe. So there's absinthe, yuzu, bergamot, lemon, mugwort, orange blossom, may rose, jasmine, ylang, clove, tobacco, oak moss, patchouli, labdanum, vetiver, South Pacific sandalwood, ambrette, castoreum, and ambergris. And this smells very indie. It smells like you're smelling a indie brand, if that makes sense. You know, it doesn't smell like a designer could ever recreate this DNA. But it's very smoky, tarry, you know, almost the substance, the feel is almost like you're feeling like tar that was on fire, you know. It's that kind of vibe. But very good. I enjoy it. And then we've got number 30, that was 31. So number 30 is an Ungaro fragrance. And this is probably the most popular of the Ungaro Pour L'Homme series, but it's my least favorite. I love 1 and 2 much more. I really love number 1. But this is called Ungaro Pour L'Homme 3. And this is still a good fragrance. I don't want to beat it down. It's just not my favorite of the 3 that they've done. And this is a older bottle, I think. It's not super old, but I think it's an older bottle before... I think this is still before somebody purchased Ungaro. But this, I think Amouage found this bottle for me. But Ungaro Pour L'Homme 3, the alcohol note here, what it's famous for is that vodka note. So it's lavender, coriander, mahogany wood, orange, sage, vodka, lemon, geranium, jasmine, lily of the valley, rose, oak moss, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver, and cedar. And this was actually done by Jacques Polge and Francois Demachy. So if you find these old Ungaro fragrances, you'll notice that they're all done by Jacques Polge and Francois Demachy. And that's because they were the in-house perfumers of Chanel at the time. And Ungaro actually outsourced the contract to Chanel. And so Jacques Polge and Demachy did their fragrances too. And the rose in here, what's very interesting is when you get the rose in the mid, it will remind you of the way that the rose kind of creeps in to Antaeus. One of my favorite fragrances of all time. And obviously this doesn't have the castoreum of Antaeus and all that stuff, but it's a very, very good perfume. It's spicy, it's woody. Came out in 1993, the final of the Ungaro Pour L'Homme series, but still good. If you can find a vintage bottle, I'd say go for it. So that's number 30. Number 29 is a Fougere, and you usually don't see boozy notes in Fougères is what makes this very unique. The other thing that makes it unique is it's a cheapie. At least it was. I don't know if it still is. I assume it still is. The House of Lalique, value for money is through the roof. And this is called Linsaumis. So Linsaumus is basically one of my favorite modern fougere fragrances. Came out in 2016. Fabrice Pellegrin did this. What a piece of work this is, man. Basil, bergamot, rum, clary sage, lavender, black pepper, patchouli, Haitian vetiver, moss, and clearwood. And so the clearwood makes it smell very modern. And so apparently clearwood is a firm niche ingredient, and it's said to have this soft and clean odor profile without the earthy, leathery aspects of like natural patchouli. But it's a fougere through and through to my nose. But it has that rum note, which makes it very modern, very interesting fragrance. And then we've got number 28. And number 28 is a Lancetti fragrance. And man, it took me a long time to hunt this down. Like, this is 6 months worth of work finding this. This is called Lancetti Uomo. And what a blessing finding this has been. Lancetti Uomo is, I actually found 2 bottles at the same time too. So I got lucky because I got my bottle and I got a backup. And so, look at this. Remember when fragrances used to come with books? Ah, the good old days, man. The fragrance. Fresh initial aroma based on a pleasant citrus, lavender, galbanum, aromatic, clary, artemisia, white thyme, nutmeg, absinthe. Ah, they actually list absinthe here. I was starting to think that it was all, you know, bullshit made up from the, from Parfumo's, you know, rating system. But no, they actually list it. That's awesome. Combination mint citrate accentuate the freshness and diffusion of the initial aroma. The body aroma is slightly flowery with jasmine, mossy tang, genuine tree moss. Genuine tree moss. The foundation aroma is animalized with a leather nuance and a touch of ambery, gray amber, and labdanno cyst, boisé, sandalwood, cedarwood, and patchouli. Beautiful. I had never read that before. So here's the bottle. Just a work of art. Look at this. My God, man. How elegant is that? I'm in love with this fragrance too, by the way. I need to decant some of this. Maybe I'll wear it tomorrow as my scent of the day. Ah, they have a little foolproof. This is dummy proof. Oh my God. Wow. What a fragrance. So, Lancetti Uomo comes in at number 28. How cool is that? I love it. Love, love, love it. Let me put you away. You must be safe and sound. Okay. I will decant you later, my friend. So, Lancetti Uomo. Discontinued, unfortunately. I told you we'd come to some discontinued ones here. Comes in at number 28. Number 27 is another Amouage. And outside of my scent of the day, there's a lot more Amouages to go. I never realized how many Boozy, you know, I never realized how many Boozy fragrances Amouage had. Sorry, the collar on my Fate Man is spinning, which kind of worries me. Okay. So Fate Man is number 27, and it is one of the most beautiful bottles you'll ever see. Many people overlooked this. Many people overlooked Fate Man because Fate Man has this cumin note in the top. Huge cumin. Actually, maybe one of the biggest cumin fragrances I've ever smelled. It's cumin, ginger, saffron, absinthe, mandarin orange, everlasting flower, which is immortelle, rose, frankincense, lavender, cistus, copipa balsam, labdanum, cedarwood, licorice, tonka bean, sandalwood, and musk. So let that cumin opening get you know, let it dry a little bit before you judge this fragrance, okay? Look at the dent I've put in it. Obviously, I wear this, okay? This is not just an art piece for me. I will wear Fate Man, and I'll wear this to the office. I don't care. I mean, the only thing is the first 30 minutes, you get this, many people call it like this Indian restaurant vibe. Sweaty, very sweaty cumin here, though. Very sweaty. This is like probably Rich Mitch and his arch nemesis with cumin right here. But if you give it a chance, if you let it dry, let it get into those, the lavender, the rose, the balsams, the licorice, the sandalwood, let all that come out. Let that frankincense, that Omani frankincense come out, and you will see what a beautiful perfume this is, man. It is amazing. It's not just a cumin bomb. Okay, so that was Fate Man at number 27. Number 26, and unfortunately I only have a little sample of this. I would love a full bottle, but I don't know if I'll ever get one. It's a Bortnikov, and it's called Sayat Nova. I have a review of this on my channel. Go check it out. Sayat Nova is apricot, narcissus, rum, vanilla, Laotian oud, Bengali oud, Thai oud, and oak moss. And that rum oud combination with that fruity apricot is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. So yes, Sayat Nova comes in at number 26. If you like Bortnikov's work, you'll like Sayat Nova. Number 25 is a Creed. The only Creed on this list. And it is Royal Mayfair. And if you can look, this is almost like, not velvet, but it's smooth. Let's put it that way. It's like, what is this material? Oh, man. Come on, brain. It's like feeling suede, okay? It's like feeling suede. That's the best way I can put it. And it's the same, you can see it here maybe a little bit better, but it's like feeling suede. It's so posh, okay? It's posh. And that's what the fragrance feels like. Royal Mayfair is a fragrance that I really had to come around. Like, I did a complete 180 on this fragrance. I hated it at first, despised it, okay? And it's got gin. That's the alcohol here. The only fragrance in the list with gin, I think. I don't think I have any other gin scents that I know of. If I do, I think I overlooked them. Ah, yes, I did. Rake and Ruin actually has a gin accord, and I have a video of Rake and Ruin on the channel, so you can go check that out. So I did overlook a gin scent, but I think that's the only one that I know of. But Royal Mayfair is gin, lime, and pine with rose, tuberose, eucalyptus, orange, and cedar. And it's that eucalyptus note that tends to put people off. It's very evident, even from the get-go. But if you give this a chance, you'll notice just how posh this is. It's it really does feel like shopping in the Royal Mayfair district, or the Mayfair district, which is the, I think, rich shopping part of London. And it feels like you're going shopping with, you know, your black card with no limit. I mean, it's that vibe, you know. You get out of your Bentley or Jaguar or, you know, Range Rover, whatever car of choice you prefer, and you're just going shopping because you don't have a care in the world. That's Royal Mayfair's feel. Okay, next, 2017, Straight to Heaven Extreme came out by Killian. And probably the most overpriced. This I probably should sell, honestly. I don't think I will. But I got the one with the key. Ooh, it's got a key and it actually locks it. You know, not that I care. I should have just bought the refill one. The whole presentation thing is so vain. But the fragrance is good. I enjoy it. Straight to Heaven Extreme is basically this patchouli, rum absolute, bourbon vanilla absolute, nutmeg, amber, and cedarwood fragrance. It sounds simple, but it's so well executed. Probably the only Killian I really like. Angel Share is way too sweet for me. If I was going to sell a Killian's, I should probably sell Angel Share. But this is very good, even though it has a little bit of sweetness. The amber, I feel like, adds this sweetness to it. It's not too much. It's not overdone like it is in Angel Share. All right, so that was Straight to Heaven Extreme at number 25. Number 24. Number 23 is a Lolita Lempica fragrance. Can you guess which one it is? Unfortunately, this is discontinued. Crime. This is discontinued. This is Lolita Lempica Eau Masculine. What a fragrance this is, man. Oh, I love this stuff. I love Lolita Lempica Eau Masculine. It is absinthe, anise, ivy, orgeat syrup, rum. So this has both absinthe in the top and rum in the heart, with violet, tonka, vanilla, cedar, and cistus. And that anise, man, that anise is so good. Even though it is a little bit synthetic, that's a knock on Lolita Lempica Eau Masculine. I love it. It's an Anique Minardo. She did my scent of the day, which was Figment Man, and what a perfumer she is. She is one of my favorite perfumers of all time. All right, number 22 is a Halston fragrance, and I wore this to work the other day. This is such a complex. I can't believe this used to be at like TJ Maxx for 20 bucks. I mean, it just goes to show. And now people are spending $200-300 on a bottle. This is Halston's Catalyst. And this is the thumbnail of my original Boozy fragrance video that wasn't ranked. Oh, it's so good. And this is the aftershave is the one that I'm holding in the thumbnail of this video for Halston Catalyst. So this is Spicy Woody. Came out in 1994, and it was perfumed by Elias Armendis and Harry Fremont, two amazing perfumers. Basil, bergamot, tarragon, galbanum, jasmine, caraway, lavender, mandarin orange, mint, narcissus, orange, rose, sage, tuberose, and vodka. Vodka's the, so these are the two vodka scents in the video. And so vodka, and then the heart is geranium, grass, chamomile, bay leaf, lily of the valley, nutmeg, rose, blackcurrant, violet, cinnamon. And the base is amber, benzoin, oak moss, castoreum, labdanum, leather, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, tonka bean, vetiver, frankincense, and cedar. And, I mean, what a fragrance that is. Catalyst for Men. I loved wearing it to work. It's such a spicy, there's a little bit of this clove feel to the fragrance too. I don't think clove is listed. Of all of those notes though, there's no clove. And it does feel like there's some clove for sure. But clove is not listed here. But you do have to like clove, I think, to really enjoy that fragrance. Okay, number 21 is probably, one of the most hyped liqueur fragrances of all time because it's a cheapie. And just like Anique Minardo does wonders with, cheaper fragrances, Nathalie Lorson from Firmenich also does wonders with cheap fragrances. This is Bentley for Men Intense. And Bentley for Men Intense is spicy, woody. It's got that African geranium, black pepper, frankincense, leather, labdanum, clary sage, cedarwood, patchouli, sandalwood, and of course the liqueur note is rum. And so it gives off this boozy rum feel. It's very good. There's a fragrance that kind of reminds me of this later on in the video as we go along. I'll show it to you when we get there. That is much higher. I appreciate it more, but this is very, very good. Don't think that because this came out a decade ago and it's on all these lists and it gets hyped and all this stuff that it's not good. It's amazing, okay? Yes, Bentley for Men Intense is a great fragrance. I don't think it's Nathalie Lorson's best like some people do, but I really do enjoy it. Okay, next on the list, we've got a Davidoff. And I think this is an underrated fragrance. And I think it deserves much more hype in FragCom. I know Robes hyped this for a little bit. He talked about how great it was, and he was 100% right. For a designer, this is an amazing amber. Deserves much more love than what it than what it gets now, and it's because I think it's discontinued. It's 2016 is when it came out. It's Davidoff, and it's called Amber Blend. So Amber Blend is cinnamon, nutmeg, amber, rum absolute. That's the liquor note, is rum absolute. Sandalwood and Peru balsam. And there's something a little bit smoky in the dry down with the amber. Fantastic cinnamony, warm, boozy amber. And very underrated. Punches way above its weight class. I think I would wear this over Grand Soir or something like that for sure. This is just more interesting to me. So, yes, there's another boozy amber fragrance that I prefer that is much higher on the list, but we'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, number 19 is an Amouage that I'm still getting to know. Someone asked me to do a video on it. I'm not ready to do a video on it yet, but I know it's worth. I know it's an amazing boozy fragrance, and it's an Opus. It's a fragrance from the Opus collection, and this is actually called Opus 5. And so the new one is they rebranded it into Opus 5 Woods Symphony. It was never called Woods Symphony back in the day, but now it's called Opus 5 Woods Symphony. And there's your bottle. Looks like this. It's got this little thing that it sits in. And basically, Woods Symphony is... So, there's a couple notes that are key players to Woods Symphony. One is iris, the other is rum, and then the other, of course, is woods. But this fragrance actually goes one step further. And if you know anything about iris, it has that, powdery, rooty coldness to it. But this also has orris root. So this has iris and orris root. Jacques Cavalier is the perfumer here. And just look at this. This is from 12 years ago. He made this in 2011. And it's got jasmine and rose in the heart. It's got woods, oud, and civet. And so what's very interesting is this combination between that, very, I would say, almost meditative iris in this fragrance. There's this meditative, enveloping, warm iris mixed with that animalic oud and civet. But the woods in the dry down are so very soft. It's very interesting because there's all these heavy notes, civet, oud, rum, and yet it wears so soft and beautifully. What a fragrance. So happy to have this, especially since there's rumors of Amouage, reformulating their scents, which I'm very scared of. I should have bought the vintage, silver oud. That's a mistake that I'm just going to have to live with. But Woods Symphony is amazing. All right, so that was number 19. Number 18 is a Roja. And I don't have a full bottle. I've got this Discovery Atomizer. It's called Parfum de la Nuit number 2. And Parfum de la Nuit number 2 is Roja's take on a rum fragrance, okay? So it's woody, it's spicy, it's got bergamot, lemon, orange, cistus, cypriol, patchouli, rum, vetiver, gaiac wood, tolu balsam, benzoin, vanilla, cacao, tonka bean, and labdanum. And maybe one day I'll buy a full bottle of this just so I can complete the set. If I ever get a really good deal, I won't pay anywhere near $1,000 a bottle for this, or $1,400, whatever the retail is. If I find a bottle for $500 like I did, PDLN 3, I very well may pull the trigger. Otherwise, no, I don't think I would. But yes, PDLN 2 is a nice fragrance. It's got that, imagine Roja's, he's got many fragrances that have this kind of base, it feels like, with cypriol, gaiac wood, tolu balsam, benzoin. He just added cacao here. It's a little bit chocolatey, and he added the rum. The chocolate with the rum is kind of the secret weapon here. But other than that, it does smell fairly similar to other Rojas. That's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if I need a bottle of that. Okay, Next on the list, we've got number 17. And you guys might be shocked this is higher than Roja, but it is. And it's a very good Boozy designer. This is what a good designer fragrance should be. I think it's underlooked nowadays. People kind of look down on it because it was cheaper. But I think prices are starting to go up. And there's talks of reformulation and all this good stuff. But this is Carolina Herrera CH Men Privé. And you can see this looks like a whiskey flask, right? It's grapefruit, lavender. So first of all, before we go any further, the grapefruit and the lavender give it this very designer-like smell in the beginning, but it dries to a very somewhat unique fragrance for a designer. It opens very common, but it does have sage, which makes it stay masculine, with thyme and cardamom. Sage and thyme, also very good on chicken. Great in your masculine perfumes, with whiskey, leather, benzoin, and tonka bean. And I really like this fragrance. This is one of my favorite Carolina Herreras. But I really like Boozy perfumes too, so it makes sense. Okay, next on the list, we've got number 16. It's a Yohji Yamamoto fragrance. And now you have to get the specific one is the problem. If you find one that is the reformulation of this, you'll hate it. Okay, it's not good. Trust me, it's a bad reformulation. This is Yohji Homme. So Yohji Homme from 1999. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the Jean Patou ink sticker on the bottom. But right there in the middle, it actually says Jean Patou ink. So Jean Patou owned Yohji Homme for a bit. And there's rumors that Jean Carlio worked on this fragrance for a little bit. Even though it's credited to Jean-Michel Duriaz, there's rumors that he came in and kind of finished it up, and that Jean Carlio, one of the greatest perfumers of all time, actually did this fragrance. This is anise, bergamot, coriander, lavender, carnation, geranium, rosewood, cinnamon, coffee, leather, rum, sandalwood, tonka bean, and cedar. And there is a note in here that always throws me off. And because they write it as Glycyrrhiza glabra extrait, but it's actually just licorice, I believe. I believe it's licorice. It's a fancy way to say licorice. So there's this licorice feel, and it does fit with the anise. But the rum is in the base. And this is such a... There was nothing like this in 1999. Okay, we're talking 1999. Quality of the ingredients. Now, Yohji Yamamoto is a Japanese house, obviously. And so they like their fragrances a certain way. Very soft and quiet. And so even though this lasts 6 hours, it sits very close to the skin. So you can go a little heavy. But it's beautiful. Stunning perfume. You know, especially if you're going to sit there in your own company and just kind of enjoy the way that the fragrance, you know, develops. Okay, so that was number 16. All right, top 15. Number 15 is a fragrance from Javoy, and I think this is one of their best fragrances, if not their best. It's Les Jeux Sans Fates. And Les Jeux Sans Fates is, and I believe that basically means that games are made, or something like that. I love the Javoy bottles. I love the color of the juice. I love everything about Les Jeux Sans Fates. So this is a fragrance that has a lot of heavy notes, and yet it remains, somehow they kept the fragrance very light and airy. Dorothy Pio of Robertet made this. Robertet has good perfumers. English gin is one of the liquors. Angelica flower, candied fruits, dried fruits, tobacco, cumin, rum is another liquor. Sandalwood, labdanum, cistus, vanilla, and patchouli. And this really does have this, you know, it has this celebratory feel. It has this, you just signed your signing bonus, and you just signed your contract, you got your signing bonus, let's go celebrate. You go out, you have a good cigar, you know, you have a great meal, you're going to watch a show or something, or a game, or, you know, it's that kind of thing. You're going to go out on the town and enjoy yourself. And, you know, you're going to have a alcoholic drink, rum or gin or whatever it is. And yet, somehow they managed to create this perfume in a way that wears very light on your skin. You know, it's like a, it doesn't weigh you down. It's not a very heavy alcohol-based fragrance, but you can definitely tell the alcohol, the gin, and the cumin. Okay, next on the list, we've got number 14, and we're back to Amouage, and I love this stuff. This is an absinthe fragrance in the top. It's called Memoir Man, and look at the dent that I put in Memoir Man. So Memoir Man is a Karine Vinchon Spanner creation back in 2010. So we're talking 13 years ago now. Tarragon, mint, basil, absinthe, very green, almost like you're in a enchanted forest that you're looking at pictures of a green forest that Dr. Seuss did, you know? It's that kind of vibe. It's almost like a hallucinogenic green forest with lavender absolute, rose, frankincense, of course, it's an amouage, amber, oak moss, gaiac wood, leather, musk, sandalwood, tobacco, vanilla, and vetiver. And Memoir Man is even now underrated. You know, even now with people looking back at the great amouages, they never put it up there with the Jubilations and, you know, the Epic Man and the Gold Man and all this stuff, right? It always kind of gets left out. But it deserves a spot at the table of the best amouages. Okay, that was number 14. Number 13, and you guys might be surprised this is this high, but I love it. Or you might be surprised it's not higher. This is Amen Pure Malt, one of the best designer boozy fragrances of all time. It's got that, probably the closest thing to the malt that you'll smell in Harvest Mouse. I mentioned it earlier. It has that beer wheat type feel, that Budweiser wheat beer, which I loved so much back in the day. Pure malt has a little bit of that feel. There's malt CO2, whiskey, and peat. So it has that trio to give it that malty, hoppy vibe with, of course, the patchouli from Amen, musk, coffee absolute, cedarwood, and some sort of woods in the base, some sort of, probably amber woods of some sort, but I love it. Love the Amen line. Always feel classy wearing those. And I always feel comfortable. I always have a great time wearing them. Okay, number 12 is a Frederic Malle. And this is called Monsieur. Not just Monsieur. Monsieur, period. And so Monsieur is the first fragrance that Frederic Malle put out after Estee Lauder purchased them. 2016. Earthy, woody. Bruno Jovanovic is the perfumer. It's patchouli, tangerine, rum absolute, vanilla, musk, cedar, frankincense, amber, and suede. And I think this is a brilliant fragrance for the cold. One of the best patchoulis you'll smell. I mean, it's so, you know, it feels like it's like a genetically engineered patchouli, and it kind of is, because they have the ability to take out certain parts of the patchouli and keep certain parts in, which is, I think, an expensive process, but it creates a unique smelling patchouli. And that tangerine note is what saves the fragrance. It adds a little bit of, there's a little bit of that freshness that the tangerine adds. An hour and a half in, my voice is officially beginning to give out. Okay, number 11. We're coming down to the end. Number 11 is, remember earlier I said there's an amber fragrance that I prefer a little bit over Davidoff Amber Blend, and this is it. It's called Ombre Rousse by the house of Parfum d'Empire. Brilliant. One of my favorite, instantly one of my favorite ambers. And the reason is that Marc, his name is Marc-Antoine Corticiatio. He created this spicy, leathery amber with champagne and vodka. Actually, there's another vodka fragrance. I mentioned this one earlier, and then I mentioned Halston. Catalyst for Men has vodka, and now we've got Ombre Rousse with this vodka champagne combination. And it's very interesting because it's almost like you're smelling a drama, like you're smelling history in the making. And that's actually what this is based on. If you take a look, it's based on history. And, you know, the names are all based on historical, you know, you've got Queer Ottoman and stuff like that. So Ombre Russe, obviously is this Russian drama, if you will. And I just imagine this tug and pull between the very elite of, let's say, a communist country like Russia back in the day, who was having the champagne and the flash and the banquets and throwing food away, and while the rest of the people basically starved, right? The majority of people starved. And I just imagine the average Russian drinking, distilled vodka at home that, they were able to make in their bathtub or whatever, versus the elites drinking the champagne. And it has that, class warfare feel to the fragrance. There's also a note of ambergris, which smells very realistic. Cumin, which might put some people off, but I know even Rich Mitch liked this fragrance and he doesn't like cumin. And tea. And the tea note makes it very relaxing. It's almost like after the war, they all sit down and just have a cup of tea and get to know each other. And there's leather, vanilla, and frankincense in the base. One of my favorite ambers, instantly. It's not going to be able to compete with Ombre Sultan, the amber of ambers, but it's very, very good. And it just missed the top 10 at number 11. Number 10 is a bottle that, one of the few in my collections that I look at and I go, why didn't I buy 100 ml of this? But it's an Eldo and a Tête Libre d'Orange. And this is Je suis un homme. And I think that literally means I am man. And so Je suis un homme, to me, this is Antoine Lee at some of his finest work. And it's currently Saturday, January 21st as I shoot this. So January 24th, Les Abstraits de Cendres is coming out. Antoine Lee's the perfumer. Do not overlook that. It's going to be an amazing fragrance. But Je suis un homme is an Antoine Lee. And it feels like Antoine Lee giving this homage to Bel Ami, to me, when I smell it. Some people say Derby. There is a little bit of Derby in here. The myrtle and the herbs, the citruses, the clove, the cinnamon. I could see how some people would say, Derby. However, I think it's closer to the Bel Ami type leather. There are some animalic notes in here. There is leather. There's patchouli. There is cognac is the booze. So it's almost like this boozy modern take on a vintage 80s leather, let's say. Whether you say it's Derby, I say it's Bel Ami, it's a modern take on it, and I absolutely love it because it still has that vintage proper DNA. The cognac just gives it a slight touch of modernity. It's like instead of a whole bunch of modernity, like something like Azzaro pour Homme Intense or Pacha de Cartier Parfum, Je suis un homme is just mostly vintage with a touch, a hint of modernity. That's what I love about it. I love Antoine Lee's work. Okay, number 9. Number 9 is a Nichane. And remember, whenever I did cigar rum, I said there's going to be another one that I prefer that DNA better. And this is it. It's a Nichane, and it's called Fan Your Flames. Probably one of my favorite Nichanes. I love the contrast between the coconut and the tobacco and the rum. And those are the big players. There's also a tonka bean note, oak moss, and Chinese cedar. And man, this is great stuff. There's the bottle. This one, the actual collar actually stays on. God, I love this. Oh, so good. Coconut, rum, tobacco, tonka bean, oak moss, and Chinese cedar. It's not super, it's not like the most, challenging or complex or anything like that. It's just an amazing creation. Fan Your Flames, 2016. Check it out if you love booze and tobacco. Okay, next on the list is a discontinued fragrance. The EDT of this is discontinued is what it is. The EDP is still around, but I prefer the EDT. I have sample of the EDP. I prefer the EDT. This is a fragrance from Luban, and it's called Idole de Luban. Look at this bottle, man. I love this bottle. What a bottle. It's got that shield on the back. I am in love with this bottle, man. This is so cool. The new bottle has lost all of its little detail, which kind of feels like a good representation of the fragrance, actually. It's lost a lot of its detail compared to the EDT. It's an Olivier Giacobetti creation. God. Bitter orange zest, rum, saffron, black caraway, cottonwood, ebony, sugarcane, leather, and red sandalwood. And many people compare these two together. I obviously prefer this, but this is a very good, you know, a very good substitute if you cannot find the EDT of Idole de Luban. Okay, next on the list, we're going back to, that was number 8, by the way. We're going back to Amouage at number 7. And again, one of the few bottles in my collection that I look at and say, why? Why do I not have a 100 ml of this fragrance? This is a 50 ml of Myths Man, and you can see the dent. It's about right there. Worryingly low. Oh, God. I love Myths Man. It's such a brilliant fragrance. It's chrysanthemum, iris, rum, rose, vetiver, elemi, labdanum, ash, and leather in there. And when they say ash, I mean imagine volcanic ash. It's that kind of feel. Or if you want to get a little bit morbid, the chrysanthemum flower is a funeral flower in many countries. Imagine being cremated ash. That imagery comes to mind as well. But the rum and the elemi make it pretty modern. The elemi keeps that Amouage frankincense feel, even though there's no frankincense in here. And the way that the fragrance kind of wears on your skin will remind you of Interlude. It will remind you of Interlude Man. Okay, so probably one of the biggest surprises of this whole ranking system today is this. This is a fragrance from Beaufort, London, and this is actually called Iron Duke at number 6. And this fragrance was given to me by one of you when I bought a fragrance from them. They basically said, hey man, I've got this fragrance, I can't wear it. I think you would like it because you like daring fragrances. And this is the fragrance that stopped me from buying Royal Tobacco by Amouage because they share some similarities. This is tobacco, metallic notes, liqueur, Cambodian oud, star anise, animalic notes, soap, leather, metallic notes again, charred wood, and there is a charred wood note, like burning, charred wood, gunpowder, hay, musk, and bourbon whiskey in the base. So there's liqueur in the top, bourbon whiskey in the base. Very tobacco-y, liquor-y. It reminds me of being in like a World War II tank with your commanding officer breathing down your neck. He's just downing liquor or whiskey because they think they're going to die in the tank, and stuff in the background is burning. It's such a creative fragrance. I love fragrances like this. If you like my scent of the day, the Amouage, Figment Man, this is your kind of fragrance. Iron Duke. So artistic, so creative. The reason I don't own a bottle of Royal Tobacco. And then we've got number 5, and number 5 is a Tom Ford, and you know which one it's going to be. Soon to be discontinued, if not already, Tom Ford. And this is called Tobacco. This is called Tobacco Oud. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but if the code down there is in gold, it means it's an older bottle. If it's in white, it's a newer bottle. Just a little knowledge for you. So Tobacco Oud is tobacco, oud, sandalwood, and patchouli. And the liqueur note is whiskey. There's this whiskey note here that just plays beautifully with the tobacco, oud, sandalwood, and patchouli. I can imagine what Amber Absolute smelled like smelling this. But I would love a vintage bottle of Amber Absolute, but I refuse to pay those prices. But Tobacco Oud is one of the best Tom Fords. Okay, number 4. And this is probably one of my favorite vintage cognac fragrances. They didn't make many vintage boozy fragrances back in the day. This is one of the best. This is Escada pour Homme. And I want a big bottle of the Eau de Parfum so bad. This is the EDT. The EDP is damn near impossible to find. This has that Heritage, YSL Jazz. I mean, you know, the names I've named over and over and over and over again. A little bit of Zeno in here by Davidoff. There's just, it's that vibe. I love those ambery fougères, if you want to call it that. And there's this cognac note in the top with bergamot, lavender, Italian lemon, pimento, carnation, geranium, cardamom, caraway, bay leaf, nutmeg, juniper, cinnamon, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, tonka bean, and vanilla. And it's a woody, oriental, amber, fougere, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's and I have so many bottles of Jazz and so much of Heritage and all of the, you know, that Bois 1920 Extreme is in that same ballpark I wore the other day. But there is something special about this. The way that the cognac note interplays with that DNA is amazing. I wish I had the Eau de Parfum, man. High on my wish list. And then, number 3, we've got the great, the irreplaceable. The reason I don't own a bottle of Francis Kirkjohn did a fragrance for Dior, and what is that Dior fragrance? I always, man, I mean, after almost 2 hours of speaking, you can't blame me, can you? Eau Noir. It's called Eau Noir. So there's a fragrance by Dior called Eau Noir. And this is the reason that I do not own a bottle of Eau Noir, because I think there are similarities between the two. They both have lavender. They both have Immortelle. This has this orange brandy note, and it's called Sunshine Man. And my God, man, Sunshine Man is such a revelation. I mean, and you can see the dent that I put in this bad boy. Fuck. Bergamot, clary sage, juniper in the heart, lavender, orange brandy, and everlasting flower in the top, tonka vanilla and cedarwood in the base. One of the best lavender fragrances I've ever smelled. I love this stuff to death. It's like, if you could modernize lavender, how can you do it better than this? This is perfection. This is just because it's called Sunshine Man. It smells best on a winter day when there's not a cloud in the sky. Honestly, that's when it smells the best. All right, so next on the list we've got number 2, and it is a Roja. And you may be thinking, how is this not number 1? Because everyone probably thought this was going to be number 1. It's not. It's number 2. And this is called Creation E, or Enigma Pour Homme if you're overseas. And this is probably one of my favorite cognac-based fragrances. So I had a decision to make, this or the one that's number 1. If you know which other cognac fragrance competes with this head-to-head, you know which one ended up at number 1. But this is Enigma, Creation E, Pour Homme, the Pure Parfum. The Parfum Cologne is also quite nice, but I prefer this one. Bergamot, geranium, heliotrope, jasmine from grass, neroli, may rose, ambergris, benzoin, pepper, cardamom, cognac, ginger, patchouli, sandalwood, tobacco, and vanilla. And what I love about this is the opening. I actually did a comparison. I did a comparison between the Pure Parfum and the Parfum Cologne. So I've done a comparison video. Go check that out. The opening has this cherry Pepsi vibe to me. Very specific, okay? It's not cherry Coke. It's cherry Pepsi. And the Parfum Cologne has this diet cherry Pepsi vibe, if that makes sense. But it does project a little bit more. This sits very close to the skin because it's a Pure Parfum, but it's beautiful, okay? I mean, this is just the epitome of poshness. I love that soda vibe opening. I just love it. You know, hints of M7 in the opening here. But the dry down is, you know, the only thing you can say, the only bad thing that you can say about this fragrance is the vanilla is a bit much. They need to tone that vanilla way down, make it less sweet, and you would have maybe the number 1 cognac fragrance. Man, I love wearing this stuff. You feel like a god wearing that, I'm telling you. And number one, if you know my taste, you know this had to be number one because it's just so, it's everything you want in a cognac fragrance, okay? So obviously cognac plays a major role, but it's also such a multifaceted, layered fragrance. There's so many transitions to this. It's brilliant. And it's one of Christopher Chong's last creations. I know it's not his last, one of his last. It's Karine Vincent-Spenner's creation called Overture Man by Amouage. Number one, Boozy fragrance for me. I mean, you can see I've worn the hell out of this already since it came out in 2019. Quite the dent. Oh, God. You know, that grapefruit gives it a slight designer tinge, and you're like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be as challenging as I think, and then it just takes you down this rabbit hole like you would not imagine. The cardamom, the cumin is there, ginger, nutmeg, and saffron, and it's a very ambery. You can see it's got this ambery, I mean, and what a bottle. What a bottle with that frosted glass. It's perfect, perfect. Everything is perfect on this scent. Spicy, woody. It's got this cinnamon, mastic, benzoin, labdanum, patchouli, geranium, and myrrh. And there's lots of resins in here. You know, the mastic is very sticky. The myrrh feels like lava, you know, like flowing ambery glow. And of course, the base has those animalic notes with that frankincense, that Amouage frankincense. Clary sage keeps it very masculine. And then the kicker is the leather. There's this leather note in the base that is just so posh, you know, like you're smelling, like you're literally at, you know, you're at the opera, and you know, you're smelling your $5,000 alligator hornback shoes, the leather of the alligator just wafting to your nose because they're brand new, of course. And you're just watching the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life just absolutely nail every single note. And that's the smell of Overture Man for me. I mean, it's just, it's so, everything in the fragrance, from the notes to the execution to the transitions to the complexity to the balance between wearability and animalics, and then you get that cognac, and the cognac smells so it smells so modern and yet so perfect at the same time in a niche fragrance. I mean, what a creation. Overture Man to me is number one, has to be number one, because while Roja's has that vanilla that's just a little much, it's just a little, you know, I wish the vanilla was toned down. I wish it wasn't as sweet. Overture doesn't have that. There's nothing wrong with this fragrance at all. Nothing. So it has to be number one. So I hope you guys enjoy my ranked list. Cheers, guys. Let me know what your favorites are. We'll try to cut this off before we hit 2 hours. Thank you for the support. Do like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I know I don't say that very much, but we're starting to approach 3,000 subs. Think of something important for me to do, or something cool to do to celebrate 3,000. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate everyone's support. Love the interaction with the community, so do leave a comment below. Cheers, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.